Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video. My name is Cartoons and I'm going to be talking about Demon Hunter and my first impressions over it and kind of what, the class is about, kind of what it has available for it since it is a brand new class in Legion expansion. I feel like there's a lot of different aspects to this class that you'll recognize that have been made through other classes, but also some new stuff that really hasn't been implemented in terms of mechanics. So we're going to kind of jump into this in multiple fashions. We're going to go over damage, we're going to go over mobility, defensive cooldowns, PvP talents, and just the design of it in general, because I want to give my opinion on this since I feel that I've played Demon Hunter for probably about 100 hours on the alpha, and I feel like I'm pretty educated on how the class works and all of the traits involved. Alright guys, let's jump into it. I want to talk a little bit about the damage and kind of how that works for Demon Hunters. What happens is you build up this new resource called Fury, and Fury is it's very similar to Rage, except for you have to only use your abilities, and if you auto attacks don't exactly build Fury like Rage does for arms or Fury or warriors in general. It works around Fury. You generate with Demon's Bite or Fell Blade or sometimes Vengeful Retreat if you're spec'd into it, and all of those abilities generate Fury, and you're able to spend it on something like I-Beam, Chaos Strike, or what else is there? I think that's it, or like Blade Dance is the last one. Or the Fell Eruption, right? So there's all those abilities that you have to spend Fury on, and you have to pool that Fury and get a lot of it and then use it all at once, and that kind of allows you to do your main combos, which is something that I'll get into in a different video. But the overall damage is pretty high right now. It seems like it gets nerfed every build, and it used to be like one-shots, like you just walk up to people and kill them. Obviously that's not the final product of the game and kind of how it works, but it's very interesting because they keep nerfing the damage and you see it go down and down and down, but it's really impossible to tell what it's going to be like in full epic gear, epic arena gear, and have all of that into play, all the PvP talents, all the PvP bonuses, and all that kind of stuff. But right now I think that the damage is supposed to be high. I really like that the class is this squishy, high damage, high mobility class. I think that it's very satisfying to play because of how that all kind of synergizes together, right? And the actual gameplay is really revolved around Chaos Nova, I-Beam, Fell Eruption, and your Fury Bar. So Chaos Nova is something that is like a 5-second stun. It's a 5-second AoE stun similar to Leg Sweep for monks, and it does a certain amount of damage, a pretty high amount of damage honestly, and then it's only a 40-second cooldown. So what you want to do is you want to build your Fury up, okay, and then you want to Fell Eruption, catch up to the target if they're far away. It does Fell Eruption does a high amount of damage. And then you catch up to them, and then you Chaos Nova, right? And then you I-Beam, and you channel into that stun target and do a crazy amount of damage. I-Beam is the channeled, big damage ability that's but you can be stunned during it, and it'll negate the I-Beam, and it's a 45-second cooldown. So you can be punished if you're bad at using I-Beam. And then after that, use Chaos Blades. And Chaos Blades is an ability I want to talk about real quick because I really just don't understand why it's a talent. So in the talent tree, they decided to put Chaos Blades as a level 110 talent. It's the last tier. You would really never ever take anything but Chaos Blades because of how good it is. So if I can equate it to something else, Chaos Blades would be the equivalent of Combustion, Icy Veins, Arcane Power, I guess Avatar, which that kind of counts. I don't know if Avatar is still a talent in Legion or not, but Avatar or Shadow Blades or Shadow Dance, there's all these really high damage cooldown abilities that are baseline in Legion. And Chaos Blades is a talent, and you really never spec out of it because of how much damage it really does. If you read the tooltip, it says increases the damage of your auto attack by 360% and grants your mastery damage bonus to all attacks for 12 seconds. So what the mastery does is it increases just your damage by 19% right now in this gear, but basically you get a 20 damage buff, and you also get a 360% damage buff to your auto attacks, which is pretty crazy. And I would never spec into Fell Barrage or Demonic over this talent. So I just if they're going to implement a system where you're okay guys, we're going to give you 3 choices and you're going to choose the one that fits for you, right? There's never ever any situation that I would choose anything but Chaos Blade just because of how powerful it is, right? And I feel that Chaos Blades being a talent, being a choice of 3, really makes it kind of pointless because you would never choose these two over this one. So why not just make it a baseline ability and make a different talent in the 110 section that, like, you know, is an interactive ability that also is, you know, maybe sometimes better in some situations compared to Fel Barrage or Demonic, right? So Demonic would give you more survivability. Fel Barrage would give you more, you know, if you're being kited a lot, Fel Barrage would probably be more damage for you in the long run. And then whatever this third talent is that's not Chaos Blades would make a lot more sense in my opinion. Let's talk a little bit about the mobility of Demon Hunters. I feel that the mobility of Demon Hunters is really fun, especially when you take the talent called Fellblade. So Fellblade is like a dash, which you will see in the PvP clips. I'm overlaying over this video. And it's like a dash to the target, has a 15-yard range, and it can reset whenever you use your Demon's Bite. So you can have like an unlimited amount of you can have an unlimited amount of mobility kind of gone into this, and I think that with Fel Rush having, you know, a pretty fast recharge timer, I think that's really healthy for what the Demon Hunter is supposed to be. And there's a lot of people in the comments I've noticed over the videos I've released of Demon Hunter that say like, oh, you know, mobility is so crazy, like why can they do all of this fast stuff? Like, guys, Demon Hunter is supposed to be a very mobile class. It's supposed to be a class that does a lot of damage. It has a lot of mobility. They're hard to catch. They can disengage when they want to. They can, you know, dodge your abilities if they want to. And there's a lot of skillful situations where like I disengage, like I Fel Rush away from like a monk, and then he uses leg sweep, and I like completely outplayed him by like predicting in my head when he was gonna leg sweep, Fel Rushing away. He leg sweeps, misses me. I dash back in and start doing damage to him again. Like, there's a lot of really rewarding play with the Fel Rush ability because of how fast it is and how fast it recharges. And not only can you do this, like, you know, 10-second recharge Fel Rush, but you can also blur and get 2 more stacks immediately of Fel Rush. So you can have up to 4 within a couple seconds. And then you also have Vengeful Retreat, which is another mobility ability that does a certain amount of damage, slows the target that's around you, and like knocks you back. But what's cool about Vengeful Retreat is you can actually be like running forward, you can turn around in midair, you can like jump, turn around, Vengeful Retreat, and it'll actually throw you forward. So if you're good at the class, you know, you can get a little bit extra mobility if you need it. And I actually use Vengeful Retreat a lot to go forward, so kind of ironic, right? But as you can see, like I throw myself forward, and then you can like glide forward too, and it's a really like mobile class, and it rewards solid play. So overall, I really like the Demon Hunter class. I think that with the defensive abilities being kind of like, it's a squishy class, right? I think it's exactly what it should be. If they were to make the Demon Hunter class, which obviously they did, I think that there's a lot of ways that you can be punished or rewarded for good play as a Demon Hunter. But the PvP talents and the regular talent system seems to be very confusing because there's not exactly like solid choices. There's just like a very cookie cutter spec for this, you know, for this class, and I really don't understand why some of these things are in here. Like if we look at like, I don't know, I mean, Demon Blades, that's a very clear PvE talent. It's just a passive where you just auto attack and you take your hands off the keyboard and you do the same amount of damage. I feel like that's pretty, like, I really don't like passive abilities being in the talent pool. I feel like because of the amount of pruning and the amount of taking away of abilities that has already been implemented into this game, I feel like having passives in the trees that like sometimes are better for you really takes away from the gaming experience that I want to play whenever I, you know, log into WoW. Imagine if Demon Blades just did a ridiculous amount of damage, right? So I would take Demon Blades, I would lose my main ability called Demon's Bite. I would also lose Fel Eruption, so I lose 2 abilities there, and all I get is a little bit of a damage bonus just by auto-attacking someone. That is like a really, really poor, like fun design. Like it takes all the fun away from the design of the class. All you do is you walk up to people, they auto-attack, and then whenever you build up enough fury from your auto-attacks, you just hit like 3, and you just hit Chaos Strike, and like that's your class. Like, I'm really, really against taking passives for talents because it takes away from the fun of being able to choose an ability and then make that ability work, like Fel Eruption. Fel Eruption is a really cool ability. It's like a 20-yard range stun for 2 seconds, and you can use that to gap close, you know, with people. I think that's really cool. but I really don't like the fact that there's 2 passives in this tree. Like Prepared generates Fury if you use your Vengeful Retreat and puts your Vengeful Retreat on a 15-second cooldown. That's cool, but it's a buff. Like, it's just a buff for an ability. Like, I don't want to have to choose that over a really cool ability like Fell Eruption if this were to be the best talent of the 3. Like, I don't want to have to, like, look at this. I could take passive here, I could take a passive here, I could take a passive here, I could take a passive here, passive here, passive here, and a passive here. All of my talents are now passives. This is a problem. That is a complete issue. Look at my bar now. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, like, most of these abilities are all... Oh, 10, this is just a passive. This isn't even an ability. I can't click this. Like, I just don't understand, like, how is this supposed to be, like, a satisfying way to play? Because all I would do is walk up to somebody, auto-attack them, and then I would have 3 buttons. I would have, or 4 buttons, really, with my interrupt. I would have my mobility, I'd have throw glaive. This isn't a class. This is, like, a third of a class. So I just don't understand, like, why these passives are so... engraved into the talent tree, because like, what's the point of even playing the game if the game plays itself for you, right? And I want to be able to choose through 3 different active abilities that really like make it so if I choose this ability, I'm going to have a rewarding gaming experience, and that can be conveyed through so many different ideas, which I'm sure the community has offered, and I'm sure that people will give ideas in the comments down below for this video. It's just my take on it, because I feel that this class could be so much better than it already is. I have to take a passive. I have to take this passive right here in order to survive most of the time, because it gives you a crazy amount of self-healing. But like, if I had to choose between 3 active abilities, I feel like I could really define myself as a player a lot more. And making sure that these abilities are the best for me, and really having a lot of fun learning the class. So with that being said, I'm going to go over my PvP talents really quick. PvP talents are a really cookie cutter spec, because a lot of the current PvP talents don't exactly reward you compared to the others. So like, if you were fighting, you fight casters, you take hardiness. You fight melee, you take sparring, but you never take reinforced armor, because 10% life is completely, it's just not as much as hardiness would be, right? So 20% less damage is a lot, or like 50% less damage 20% of the time is also a lot. You pretty much just take these 5 talents on the left here. You take Solitude most of the time, but sometimes you could take Chaos Strike if there's a lot of slows. And then there's like Reverse Magic, which dispels all the harmful magic effects from yourself and all nearby allies within 10 yards and sends them back to their original casters. That completely destroys like Caster Cleaves. I mean, you can dispel Frost Novas. Like, it's pretty crazy. You pretty much always take Awaken the Demon Within, because these 2 are passives that really aren't very good. And then, again, for the last tier, you always take Imprison, because Imprison is your CC ability. I don't know why this is a PvP talent. I think this should be a baseline ability. It just doesn't make sense for it to only be in PvP. It's a 1-minute cooldown, 6-second incapacitate that makes them lose 24% of their health over 6 seconds. Awesome change, by the way, for changing it from a 20-second cooldown to a minute cooldown. That's a great decision, because beforehand it was really OP and broken. But like, I really would never choose Range from Above or Mana Break over Imprison, because of how important CC is in Arena. So I feel like Imprison should just be a baseline ability, and then you can choose the other 3, whatever the new idea is. Choose those 3. That's just my opinion, but I think that pretty much sums it up for everything. I really don't have a whole lot of more opinions about this class. I think that it's in an awesome direction. I just think that there's a philosophy about the passives that I really don't like. But I think that the class, when you play it, when you mess around with it, it's a very satisfying, fun class to play, and I definitely will continue to do so in future patches and have a lot of fun with it. I think that it's probably the funnest melee damage class there is right now, just because of the rotation, because of the PvP damage that you're able to do and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to give a thumbs up if you did, and so you can subscribe to my channel for more. And I will see you all in the next video. Cartoons out.